Hey, welcome to your weekly Corner Späti. It is myself, Nick, and I'm joined with Uma.
Hello.
And we have returning guest, author, podcaster extraordinaire, Ben Miller. How are you doing?
Surviving, like the rest of us. Doing my best, as the tweet says, to have a nice time despite knowing facts and information.
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of facts and information, just on a quick US note, did you see the list of journalists and media outlets that are approved for Pentagon hearings?
Isn't it literally InfoWars?
Yes, it's InfoWars, the Epoch Times.
Someone pointed out to me, though, that the InfoWars thing could actually be good because you know that The Onion is in the middle of this big legal battle to take over InfoWars, which it looks like they'll probably win, which would mean that then The Onion would have an official media desk at the Pentagon, which I do want because The Onion is, as they announce in their header, America's only newspaper, truly.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, this we truly need. I'm imagining The Onion just suddenly hiring Seymour Hersh and sending Seymour Hersh to the InfoWars seat at the Pentagon, which they now control. It would last for a week and a half before Pete Hegseth woke up from whatever drunken stupor of femboys he's laying in allegedly. If I say allegedly, they can't sue me.
Exactly,
allegedly,
yeah.
And realized what was going on and kicked him out. But it would be a very funny 2-week period.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that then I found that was really hilarious was the My Pillow guy also has a he has been allowed to go to the press briefings as well.
Did you
what's
see?
his name?
Okay, she's not a girl, but we don't like her. She's not a girl boss, but it was pretty funny. The My Pillow guy was yelling at Nancy Pelosi on her way out of the Capitol. She just turned around and put her finger in his face and just said, "Shut the fuck up. You're not a real journalist," and got in her car. And if she were as good at dealing with actual politics as she was at that, then, we'd all, whatever.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
She's a bad lady, but that was funny and satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, no. It is there. Yeah. I don't know. Especially that in the most recent Nancy Pelosi thing I saw was her ripping up that crown. And she's like, "No, Kings." It's Diva, you've been in office for 40 years.
I mean, Nick, just because she's in her early hundreds doesn't mean that she's not able to effectively represent the people of, she can't quite remember where she's from anymore, but wherever it is that she's from, I'm sure she represents them well. It's San Francisco. By the way, side fact, Nancy Pelosi won that congressional seat in a very close primary against Harry Britt, who was a Democratic socialist. He was the political heir to Harvey Milk, and she was the right-wing candidate in that race, and she beat him. And so this whole gay guys, Nancy Pelosi's diva thing is particularly terminally rotted because she literally, that should have been Harry Britt for all these years. And Harry Britt is a much better political figure and represents all the things in San Francisco politics that were once good and that have since been replaced by people getting onto and off of the Google bus.
Hooray. I mean, yeah, her and Dianne Feinstein are definitely the, I mean, she's dead, but.
If Harry Britt had won that seat and if Matt Gonzalez had beat Gavin Newsom to become mayor of San Francisco in 2004, and San Francisco then had not gentrified in the way that it had now, I might very well be there right now and not here.
But instead, kind of you're fault. In.
But instead, I live
transition.
Here, and I have to deal with Friedrich fucking Merz. So thanks a lot, Nancy Pelosi. I have to know who Friedrich Merz is.
Yeah, and that is why we're here. I guess today is because Friedrich Merz has been going on one. I guess the one that then has kind of caught the international attention has been his Stadtbild comment, which. Threw me for a fucking loop because it is the thing of the CDU is kind of always done this shit quietly. One of the ones I can remember quite well was during their Parteitag. If I'm not mistaken, it was during the Armin Laschet years of them trying to, I guess, get behind him. And they made this ad for Vote CDU, and it just had these very quietly, racist images in it of like, two Turkish Arab looking guys in like a Mercedes. And they're like, we don't like that. We like good German white people driving Mercedes. But this is like,
like Jens Spahn, who certainly purchased his luxurious villa near Berlin through completely legal and documented sources of income, and this had nothing to do with this enormous scandal in which vast amounts of money were spent buying overly priced coronavirus vaccines. And all of the parliamentary reports on this keep being released with vast sections of blacked out text. That's the right kind of criminal. The wrong criminal is basically any potentially Arab-looking man, whether or not they committed a crime.
I mean, that was the organized crime in Berlin and Germany. That then I like organized crime is definitely giving it a bit too much credit. The scam that I did support during COVID was when people were just opening up their Corona centers and pocketing the money. Like you could do that. The city would give you money. And then they were getting, because then that's like obviously the type of crime that you can't do. You can do Jens Spahn, mask scandal, vaccine scandal, that type of shit. The, like upper echelon crimes are perfectly fine, legal and normal in Germany. I can donate $7 million to one candidate if I'm, say, like BMW, as long as I tell them that I'm going to do that. That's fine here. But God forbid I open up a Corona testing center that's, maybe in a, one of those like cafe bar things that's just around town. But
one that I went to, by the way, would literally give you the certificate that you didn't have COVID before they did the test. So they would give you a pre-printed, pre-signed certificate that they would write your name in, and then they would do the test. And then twice the woman asked me, do you want us to actually do the test or not? Like, in other words,
no, I got shit to do
if you're
today.
actually curious, we will let you know, but otherwise we'll just take the test, throw it in the trash, and give you the certificate.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I wanted to do things. You can. I want the certificate before I even do the COVID test. That's definitely the proper way of doing that. Don't ask any questions. But anyway, back to our hellscape that we are currently.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
go
you,
on.
Nick, for people that have escaped Germany, such as myself, what's exactly the comment that Matt said, like the Stadtbild? Could you please
Of course. Yeah. So
I'm so sorry that your brain has to be exposed to this.
I know. No, literally, like Nick said, oh my God, so many things are happening in Germany this week. And I was like, I have no idea. I have escaped. I'm not reading.
I want to be like you, Uma.
Move to Barcelona.
Yeah, I would do anything not to have to like constantly look at just like clapbacks at Friedrich Merz being like, actually, I'm the Stadtbild, which I am. I am ruining the city single-handedly. I found out yesterday when I threw away a toaster illegally. But we're not going to talk about that. So Merz the other day during a press conference kind of just like gives this comment about how the inner cities of Germany, very much inflecting the sense of because of migrants are something that then people don't like in the form of like how the Stadtbild or like the view of the city is changing in Germany, and migration, a thing that this country has never had. And he's obviously then had a bunch of there's been, like I said, a bunch of clapbacks from people. And then he kind of fired back with the sense of like, oh, well, like if you have like a daughter, you should be worried.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I have two things to say to that. The first thing I have to say to that is to anyone who followed the German election in earlier this year, they would break down the vote in all these different ways. And one of these Tagesschau charts had a split. They showed on the right side was old men in the countryside, and the left side was young women in cities. Young women in cities voted 35% for Die Linke, 20% for the Greens, and everyone else was like 10% or less. So the daughters have voted, right? Like the daughters are woke now. The other thing that I'll say about this is that Friedrich Merz famously voted in my lifetime against making marital rape a crime.
Yeah, I just wanted. I was about to mention that. Thank you, Ben.
And also, literally 2 days ago, another CDU MP, Tilman Kuban, was arrested, we found out that he's under investigation for some kind of attack against his now apparently soon-to-be ex-wife. So I wouldn't want my daughter to be anywhere near a CDU convention, but that's just me.
Yeah, for multiple different reasons. One, for stuff like that, and two, just they're too German. I'd be scared for the sense of, you know, what would she bring home in terms of, like, you know, amanitis.
She'd bring home Joe Lashett and Gloria Zuda and start seeing some kind of weird, like, trad posting model and like, oh god.
But it's always the same, isn't it, with the right? Like in England, in the UK, when last month there were so many anti-immigrant riots in front of hotels where asylum seekers were, you know, staying, because allegedly one of them had sexually assaulted a local teenage girl. And it was not funny because it's so fucked up, but they would put pictures of like the guys that were attending these rallies being like, protect the girls, protect our daughters, da, 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 da. And all of them had convictions for domestic abuse and violence against women. And it's just like the fucking irony.
Are you telling me that coked up rapists attend far right rallies in the UK?
Yeah. Oh my god, shocked.
Oh no.
I know.
Oh my
right?
god, with that knowledge, what am I going to do with my days?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
No,
These
but
people,
exactly.
It's the same vibe as like people who want to hate trans people suddenly discover women's sports. You know? I'm like, yes, I believe that you sit around thinking all day about like supporting women's athletics. This is definitely something that your relationship to women's athletics has surely been more than making a bunch of awful lesbian jokes. That is surely like, you know, you really deeply care about like rules violations and like the ethical integrity of women's undergraduate swimming. Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Tilman Kuban, which is kind of just like a funny reach back to a corner Späti character from years ago. He was like for those who don't remember, of just like how insane this man is. And it is kind of like, it's not funny that he, like, you know, assaulted his wife and is getting divorced for very bad reasons, but it is just like, it is kind of perfect that the guy who was like the first like MAGA chud of the CDU is the one that then is like kind of like caught up in this, like, oh, not I'm going to defend Friedrich Merz. Oh, by the way, like a guy who's like more or less kind of openly been the like one of the first bridges to the AFD has then now kind of been this guy coming back of like, oh, hey, yeah, you know, your wife says otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I want to point out, we can like laugh about it, but so in 2023, fall of 2023, there's this kind of now infamous meeting at this hotel in Potsdam, the Villa Adlon, where these AfD people and a couple CDU people and some people from this Austrian far-right movement, the identitarian movement, put out this plan for what they call remigration, where they talk about how are we going to basically force not only shut down new immigration, but how are we going to try to like get people out? And this becomes a huge scandal because they're talking about evicting people from the country or using different kinds of legal pressure, like hostile environment, to evict people from the country who have settled status, or in some cases who have passports. This leads to nationwide protest in Germany. The AfD's rise in the polls goes down for a bit and then it goes right back up. But it leads to this kind of big national scandalous reaction, right? So about a year later, Friedrich Merz makes introducing the ability to strip people of German citizenship for certain crimes a part of his election campaign. And now we have Merz saying pretty explicitly that the problem with migration is something that you can see. And he's since gone back and said, he added this other thing where he said, what I'm talking about is people who are living here without following the rules and who don't have legal status or whatever. But that's not what he said. What he said is Stadtbild, build, something that I can see with my eyes. The problem is something I can see with my eyes, and we're going to solve it with deportation. The Conservative Party in the UK filed legislation this week that would lead to, this is like, no one is talking about this, and it's kind of unbelievable. The official party policy of the Conservatives in the UK right now is to deport 5% of the entire population of the UK, including people who have settled status, settled immigration status, the equivalent of a Niederlassung in Germany. And Katie Lamb, who is this kind of rising star of the Conservative Party there, basically said, well, it's not these people's fault, but she literally said we have to remove people, even if it wasn't their fault, and it's very sad, until we have a relatively culturally homogeneous population again. Ethnic cleansing. The official policy is now ethnic cleansing, and Merz is clearly trying to take the CDU closer to that. And then to come out 3 days later and say, well, actually, we've decided, as they did, we've actually decided the AFD is our number one opponent and we're really going to fight them. Like I mean, I don't think Friedrich Merz is about to make a coalition with the AFD. I don't. I think he personally has staked too much on it. But you can absolutely see what the long-term effects of making essentially ethnic cleansing center-right, quote-unquote, center-right immigration policy is going to be. And one of the things that it shows is that there is just there's no ending to this. Like there's no place where you suddenly make the rules stronger and then these people will be satisfied. Rather, what you should do is go at the fact that the actual idea of deporting vast numbers of people who have legal status is unpopular, right? Like you can start there, as opposed to doing what Merz is doing, which is basically creating linguistic bridges that bring people who think, well, there's too many illegals, but I don't have anywhere in their head the idea that like I think that every Turkish person should be deported, or I should have like essentially like an Idi Amin style campaign of ethnic cleansing. Like he gets those people closer to that by framing the problem in this way. He's like actively moving people towards the far right.
Yeah, well, there's kind of two things that then I want to mention to that. One of that, then there is, while then the CDU is kind of having this like official, like we won't work with the AFD, but also like simultaneously in the background being like, well, also the Brandmauer, it's kind of just a suggestion. Maybe in the future that could possibly change on like more local government levels. That is something that then the CDU is kind of like also the last couple of weeks had the like, they have not said it. They said that they won't work with the AFD, but they've mentioned that then the Brandmauer might be like strategically problematic for them in the future, which is something that then, I mean, I don't see a AFD CDU coalition happening on any national or large governmental sense, but there is, I would say, probably with time going on, the possibility of the CDU on local governments probably, realizing that then that maybe a quiet, collaboration with the AFD may not actually be the worst thing. And that's probably feasible in the future.
It's already
and
happening.
Second,
I mean, people are being
exactly.
elected mayors of towns with that kind of support. Mm-hmm. Like there's, as Kommunalpolitik in Germany, there aren't formal coalitions. Like in Kommunalpolitik, every party gets a certain number of like Stadträte, depending on what, like, it's complicated, but basically, which means that like there are some AFD people who are, and then like they do all work together. Like this happens. That's already happened.
And the second part that then I wanted to bring up, which Ben, I know that I remember when this then passed, you did a like massive tweet thread about it, was the rewriting of then like refugee policy in Germany, which is something that then that the CDU has been hammering on about then that the European Union's position towards migration policy is something that then Germany doesn't necessarily want to follow anymore. And these newer suggestions of kind of how to, not necessarily like, doing, I think a lot of people, including myself, misread it in the sense that then that Germany was going to be able to like, strip people of their, or strip people of citizenship, or, this idea then of being able to settle in Germany because of EU law. And the CDU is kind of like taken a, Andermatt's or I guess actually before the coalition was like even made a like a non-binding resolution more or less to like Germany rethinking its migration policy, which is very much like playing in step to, of course, like the far right, and even into the sense too of leading up to the elections when Julia Klöckner, you know, our wonderful president of the Bundestag, had that poster being like, if you want to vote for the AfD, vote for the CDU. Like, just we're the democratic alternative to this thing. I see Ben is opening up his passports.
I don't know why I'm like subtly playing with my passport while we talk about this topic. It's like on my desk, and I'm like, oh boy, there's probably something I should, anyway. I mean, so there have been. Let's start from the Ampel. The last German government, which
back when everything was still horrible,
which participated eagerly in this big European campaign to really make it much, much, much harder to become a refugee to, or to declare asylum in the EU, and which introduced all sorts of really horrible stuff about being able to imprison children and all this stuff. And, like all of these European politicians in 2017 who were like, oh my God, I can't believe that Donald Trump is imprisoning children, or in 2023, making plans to put kids in cages. And, of course, our wonderful former Green foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, was very much
who's
a big
queen of the UN now. Let's not forget. You got to give her flowers.
Queen of the UN and of delivering fiery defenses of the Israeli military's sovereign right to bomb hospitals, because, to quote Annalena Baerbock, feminist foreign policy maven and human rights expert, civilian places like schools and hospitals can lose their protected status in times of war.
I love that her and the Russian state have the same position on that.
It's the one thing they have the same position on, yeah. But anyway, so all of this was done, and there was a real, basically, a major attack at a European level on the right to asylum. And one of the things that's really happening right now in immigration politics that people aren't really seeing, because it happens at the EU level, and stuff that happens at the EU level is boring and much less transparent than what happens nationally, is that all of these rightward turns nationally are impacting the EU's own set migration policies. So things that once were, well, the EU is fighting institutionally against a kind of localized, stricter migration policy. Now all of those policies are becoming the EU policy. Merz then wants to go even farther than that, and kind of the lib attack on Merz at that time in Germany is, well, if he does that, then we're going to blow up this big migration rights restriction covenant that we all just signed, because he will take Germany out of it. And then they made this deal with the Social Democrats to basically, go right up to the borders of what they're allowed to do. I mean, the thing is that this is not really new in terms of the CDU, right? Like,
oh no, of course not.
People have this view of the CDU that was based on, like, I do not like Angela Merkel. I think Angela Merkel sowed a lot of what we are now reaping. But one thing that is true about Angela Merkel is that Angela Merkel was significantly less racist than the CDU had traditionally been. And Merz is a return to form. So in 1999, I believe it was. No, it was, yeah, in 1999, there was an attempt by the then red-green government in Germany to bring in dual citizenship, which the Ampel did manage to bring in. And the CDU won a bunch of Landtagwahl campaigns, running really hard against this, running against the idea of dual citizenship, and basically saying that dual citizenship was going to make the German passport bad. There's like all these posters saying yes to integration, no to the dual citizenship. And that basically meant that for 20 plus more years after that, many people who have lived in Germany since the 1970s continued to have absolutely no rights to vote in a country where they live and are never going to leave at this point. And then just to add to that, a year later, a guy named Jürgen Rüttgers was running to be the head of Nordrhein-Westfalen, and his slogan was, so at that time there was a big, again, this is going to shock you, but a big national discussion about the need for qualified workers, which Germany still does need. Like Germany needs, the facts on the ground here are that no matter what you do, no matter what your economic system is, no matter what's going on, Germany needs many, many, many hundreds of thousands of people to move to it every year. Otherwise, it will continue to slowly collapse. And like, if these people get their way, then what is going to happen is their grandmothers are going to die alone in unstaffed hospitals, and their fruit is going to rot in the fields, and their factories are going to be empty. And if that's what they want, they can fucking have it, right? Like, we'll find our way out, and they can fucking have it in their racially pure nightmare land. But that is what is going to happen if there is not significant immigration to Germany every year. So at this time, they were trying to bring in some qualified IT workers, which, oh God, does Germany need qualified IT workers, as anyone who's ever used a German computer can tell you. And the slogan of the CDU in the campaign in Nordrhein-Westfalen that year was Kinder statt Inder. Basically, we need babies, not Indians, to work on our computers.
I completely forgot about this. Yes. Oh my God.
Quote, statt Inder an die Computer müssen wir unser Kinder an die Computer.
Oh my God, Jesus.
And so this is not new, right? Like this is who the CDU is. This is what they are. This is what they always have been. That's what it is. That's who we're dealing with here.
Yeah, I think then, going back, you mentioned the sense of then like Merkel not being as racist, which I think is a kind of a point to that then, Merkel being in power for 16 years. I kind of always have the feeling that she, like, one, I agree, I am not a Merkel fan, but I've been finding myself lately doing the, like, I don't like Merkel, but, and then there's always like a caveat of like, she wasn't the worst of the CDU. And she really did kind of like transform, I would say, the general, I mean, yes, the CDU has always been this racist, kind of monolith of German politics. They are like the single party that we have, it feels like. But I do genuinely feel that there probably are a lot of people thinking that who are probably not as tuned in, that then like, oh, the Merkel years like made the CDU less racist. I don't pay a lot of attention to politics. The CDU is like the normal party in this country, because 16 years of her kind of did change the general, attitude and view of this historically quite far right-wing party, depending on which era of the CDU you're looking at. And I very much agree that the Merz is just, a total reset of the party to the traditional conservative, right-wing, nationalistic values of the German conservatives. And I would probably then within, you can make the argument then the AfD in its formation is just then kind of those remnants of that party that then were leaving because of a Merkel, led CDU, which there is a lot of data that shows that then the original memberships of the AfD are those types of people, notably people like Alexander Gauland being former CDU members, upset with Merkel's migration policy, leaves, forms the AfD. And now we kind of have this like double, this like it's this very weird situation of two parties that kind of like ideologically are not very far away from each other, but with a kind of like unwillingness to work with each other too, simply just out of the sense that then like the AfD has said too many of the things that you're not allowed to say, even though the CDU says these like privately in their meetings.
Right. I mean, I think there is a difference between the AfD and the CDU. The AfD is in many parts very openly fascist in a way that the CDU is not. And I think that difference is meaningful, right? Like,
it does turn a lot of people off. I agree. Like that is very much
but I think it's also different in terms of what they do, what they would do in power, right? Like, okay. I think a lot of people on the left made this mistake with the last U.S. presidential election, and I'm really not interested in relitigating like the voting fight. And I don't give a shit. And also, if every left-wing person who didn't vote had voted for Kamala Harris, she still wouldn't have won. But the thing that you heard a lot at that time was basically there's not really going to be any difference here, or Donald Trump isn't really that different other than rhetorically from kind of a normal Republican. And in his first term, you could in some ways make that argument, right? I think this past few months in the US has shown us that when these people at this point get into power, they are really serious, and they do what it is that they say they're going to do. And I think it is worth taking that very seriously. And it's in the interest of that, actually, that I really am disgusted with what Meretz is saying. Not only because the fact that this guy is in power now is bad and dangerous enough, but to have someone who is so unpopular and who is so bad at politics feeding these kinds of racist resentments so eagerly in this kind of desperate attempt, I think, to maintain power or to I don't know what it is that he thinks he's doing, but he's not doing it very well. That strikes me as an exceptionally dangerous situation for anyone who, like me, is and like you too, Nick, are and like a lot of our listeners are in danger if the AFD were ever to come to power in this country, and would probably have to leave or consider leaving.
Yeah, I do think the thing that's very interesting, kind of tying the bridge between Merz and Trump, is that there is something that then is very interesting with the CDU's politics on the like international right level, where there has been this, where CDU of previous, Trump won, there was definitely not this like, kind of outreach and support that you saw from the CDU to Trump's kind of policies, Trump's policies to Europe, Trump's policies domestically. And it is something that then is actually like, I mean, of course, I wholeheartedly agree if the AFD were then in power, gets to power, what they would pedal to the metal racism, racism button, remigration, all the type of stuff that they have been talking about. They will do, and then Trump too has definitely been kind of a proof of that. Of okay, we're back in power. Here we go. I mean, we're seeing all the stuff with ICE roundups and people going missing, deportations, et cetera, et cetera. But it is quite fascinating seeing, at least in the sense of like the CDU and its current amalgamation, then being fully supportive of a AFD type of politic in a different country, given, yes, they are, kind of cucks to the United States. But it does have me question as well, then the sense of well, how the AFD is significantly worse, yes, but like how much further are we going to go within the next, 3 years of match that we have left? And I'm genuinely the type of fear that I would have for the immediate AFD doing their things. I just applied for my German citizenship. Hopefully that goes through, this and that, and I'll have a bit of like a buffer and I'll feel a little bit safer about it. But I don't feel particularly safe under a government that then is openly supporting every right-wing decision in other countries as well, and possibly using that as like a forbid in the future. I mean, these are all speculations, of course, but it does make me very uncomfortable with the sense of their support of the Trump government, very much just like at face value.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I'm not encouraging anyone to think of Friedrich Merz as their friend. I just think that we have to be. I think we can be smart enough to understand that we can have like multiple different kinds of enemies, right? And
this is a show that tells you to be a hater. So yes, I agree.
And also, some people, like, some of them are worse than others, right? And I think that unfortunately, Merz is really doing absolutely everything in his power to increase support for the AFD, including, by the way, the mass campaign of the defunding of the social state that all of this is kind of being accompanied by, and to some sense distracting from. I mean, I feel weird saying things like distracting from, because there are then all these people who basically like talk about how, talking about immigration or anything is like a distraction from like the real issues. And like, no, like this is a real issue. Like threatening deportations is a real issue. And they're also introducing some unbelievable new proposals in the social state. Raising the retirement age to 73 has been floated. It's been floated. Actually, no, it's been passed. Actually, that the Bürgergeld, the kind of the Grundsicherung, long-term unemployment, that is going away, and we are going back to the old Hartz IV system, but actually even worse. So now, if you miss several appointments, they can actually take away all of your Wohngeld, the money that supports your rent. So there's likely to be a mass wave of homelessness. And study after study after study has shown that the two things that most strengthen the far right are one, cutting the welfare state, and two, repeating their talking points, but saying that you'll do it in a more civilized fashion. And Merz's entire politics is made up of those two things. So there we go.
I think as well, something that we also have to kind of like bring to light is that you're mentioning that the AFD is getting stronger, more popular than this. Like for the first time, they have surpassed the CDU in national polling. As I believe they're at 26%. If I last saw correctly, the CDU is at 23. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on who you believe.
I believe no one.
Okay, but it's like anyway, like okay. So either the CDU is 27 and the AFD is 25, or the AFD is 26 and the CDU is 24. Like that's not meaningfully different. The story is
no, of course not. Yeah,
the AFD has added 4.2 points since the last election and is growing. Yeah. Can we also talk about the kind of lib reaction to this? Because I think it's been very funny.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'll open the picture in the chat that I sent.
I've been waiting to click on this, and I'm waiting for your green light. I actually wanted to move to this.
Please click on it now.
Okay. Is it going to let me? Is it going to load for me? Oh God, I saw this.
So this is a tweet from Katrin Göring-Eckardt, who tweeted a picture of what I'm going to describe as the most alarmingly gray halloumi sandwich I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like a halloumi sandwich that you can see through the screen is ohne Knoblauch, ohne Scharf, and ohne Zwiebeln. So it is. It is just halloumi and lettuce, gray pita bread, gray lettuce, weird white yogurt sauce, and beige halloumi. And she wrote as the caption to this, and this is, by the way, the former federal chair of the Green Party, who's still in the Bundestag. She said, I ate Cityscape today. No daughters were there. Like, ich hatte heute Stadtbild, keine Tochter waren da. So simultaneously managing to presume that all migrants are your local donor shop. And also post, like, this is the most German donor shop order of all time. Like, the most German lady donor shop order of all time is being like, ja, ich hatte gern mal ein Halloumi im Brot, aber ohne Zwiebeln, ohne Knoblauch und nicht scharf, bitte. Like, and did you see the videos of all the people in front of the Bundestag chanting, Wir sind das Stadtbild, like we are the picture of the city, but they're all white?
Sea of white people. Yeah, exactly. You know what? There is something that then is particularly funny of the German lib mindset, right? Because it is still like not free from the racist undertones of this country, but it is very much the same similar, like, I'm a good person sort of thing, but then kind of just like retroactively, I don't know, shits on itself all the time for exactly that, of like, you're going to have a protest. It's like the one of like the anti-AFD protests, right? Like after the remigration thing. And then libs complaining about who was there, of like, oh, we don't like that there's like Arabs here with like Palestinian flags. That's not okay. And like, people getting in fights and whatnot because they don't have their good liberal German, generally white view of this country. And I mean, like, probably the funniest example that I've ever seen in person was, speaking of annoying German libs, and yes, they're libs, which are like anti-Deutsch people, it was one of those, what was the protest of like the Unteilbar, where like the AFD was becoming, a threat way back when. There was these like large national protests of like, hey, we're all in this together. And there were these like brown kids holding a German flag, which I have no problem with that. And these anti-Deutsch people go up to them and take the flag away from them and explain to them why that's not okay that they have a German flag.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we can't. There's nothing more to say about the anti-Deutsch. But
the other thing I wanted to talk about was there were two interesting pieces of public polling that came out quite recently about this. One of them was people were asked, "Do you think that there is a problem in the Stadtbild if you see people who aren't white?" Do you want to guess what percentage of Germans said yes?
like 60%.
No, 35. But still,
okay,
like
cool.
35% of Germans will openly tell someone on the telephone, "I think that it's a problem when I have to look at brown people."
Yeah, I'm going to call the police. There's a brown person outside.
Right. So that's 35%. That's them. And then they asked. So this is weird. It's a weird question because what CDF is telling you is that they asked people, was Merz correct in what he said about the Stadtbild? The way that they actually asked the question was, Merz said this thing about the Stadtbild. However, what he then clarified is that he only meant people who don't have a right to be here, who are here illegally and who are committing crimes. Was he correct? And 63% of people said he was correct, but only when they were told that was like the most leading question of all time. Like, do you agree with the chancellor that people who are actively committing crimes are a problem? Like, most people are going to be like, yeah, I think that people actively, like, yes, I think that crime is like people actively like committing crimes are bad. The other thing that it's and however, the other thing that's interesting is I think it's really interesting because it's holding on here in a way that it isn't other places. There is still a supermajority of Germans that are in favor of the fact that the CDU fundamentally opposes any cooperation with the AfD. It's like 2/3 of Germans are really in support of that. And so it is interesting that kind of remains despite all this other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, there is kind of the reality of having to like deal with the fact of, and I know I jokingly say this, of the CDU being the one party of this country. There are like Germany does this thing, you know, of course, of like generational party voting, you know, I've met people at parties who just casually like, oh yeah, I like the CDU. Angela Merkel likes gay people. And I'm like, none of that statement is true. You know, like just everything about what you have said. You've had a nice upbringing. You're living in Berlin, living your like fake artsy lifestyle, but you're still like, you know, oh, I'm going to vote CDU. They're the forever party of this country. And it is like people vote. I mean, I guess previously had voted the SPD kind of in a similar way, but there is just like Kieran kind of always mentions it of like the well-intentioned CDU voter, of like the person who just like is like, well, they're the party that's here. They want a good economy and this and that and that. And, you know, may or may not be racist. That's a whole other different thing. But it is like this party has such a stranglehold on this nation's politics as well, like just as a whole. I'm sorry. I hate to bum everyone out about the Forever Party.
Can we talk about something positive though?
Always, yes.
Please.
I have a positive topic. Have we talked on this show yet about as I call her, Frau Mamdani?
No.
Okay, so and I actually Die Linke in Berlin. Die Linke in Berlin were, as of this summer, polling second overall in the city to the CDU, and there would be the numbers for Red Green Coalition, but led by Die Linke, which would
give
be
me
really
my
awesome,
citizenship so I can participate in this.
Especially because all of the great thing about Die Linke Berlin is that all of the Israel weirdos left and all of the Sarah Wagenknecht weirdos left, and we came in first in the last Bundestagswahl in the city. Anyway, I say we because I'm a member of the party, just to make this totally clear. And so Die Linke has had this huge kind of turnover of members also, where basically it used to be that the number, like the height of Die Linke membership was at the end of the GDR, and then slowly they all died. And for the first time in the past like 2 years, basically Die Linke is actually adding members who are all very young and who really exist kind of outside of a lot of the horror that made that party so bad, right? Like the weird Israel stuff, the Sarah Wagenknecht stuff, like that party was so weird for so long. And now you go to these meetings and it's like, it just looks like the left in any other place, which is both good and bad, right? Like it's a very urban left. It's a very advanced degrees left. But still, it's like normal in some important ways. And so because of this turnover, there's basically the only strategy that the party had was to nominate as its Spitzenkandidatin someone who was like a new fresh face. And so they nominated Elif Eralp, who is really great, really big supporter of Deutsche Wohnen enteignen, would be the first, I believe, the first state leader in Germany who isn't white. Are Turkish people white? The longest discussion in forum's history, closed by moderators after 12,000 pages of heated debate. But like for Germany, she's not white, right? And is the daughter of refugees and has like excellent politics and will also be the only leader running who is not a man. You're going to have the other three party leaders in Berlin next year. I'm leaving out the AfD. But you have Kai Wegner, who is type 1 German political man, alarmingly bald. Werner Graf from the Greens, type 2 German political man, enormous sentient ham. And Stefan Krach from the SPD, type 3 German political man, rimless glasses. So you're going to have those three men. And then like, and Elif Eralp does, I will make a joke, there is something going on right now where every left-wing politician in Germany has the Heidi Reicheneck hair where you have like a forehead length bang, but then it's long below the shoulders. Like this haircut has a stranglehold on the German left right now. And she has it. But anyway, she made this announcement video and it's so clear that they are like looking at Zoran's homework and copying it, where she's like talking about like the whole campaign is cost of living, who can afford to live in the city. She has this great line where she's like, people like us aren't supposed to be the mayor. And I'm like, yeah, we're not. And then they're going to do this listening tour where they're going to ask people what their issues are. And anyway, if people who are listen to the show are in Berlin, you should probably be aware of this and help out because we have the chance in Berlin to have what I'm calling Frau Mamdani. And like, I'm calling her this because it's like clearly the same strategy. And then I made a Frau Mamdani joke on an Instagram story. And one of the people, like somehow gays, I know some guy from some gay reason that I actually legitimately don't know how we know each other, but gay, who messaged me and was like, thanks for the Mamdani joke. It's on purpose. We're trying to like meme this into existence. Like we're trying, like it's absolutely what we're doing. Like we're like trying to get like the meme people to like talk about her this way in order to like spread who she is and what she stands for. So we could. And the elections are in less than a year from now. So we could make Kai Wegner lose, and we could, in a year from now, have Mayor Mamdani meeting Mayor Eralp. And she's also like, Elif Eralp is not good on Palestine the way that Mamdani is good on Palestine, but what she isn't is like weird on Palestine. So like she called for people to mobilize for the big Die Linke Gaza demo. Like she's not, she's absolutely, I think, good enough on that to deserve support, especially in comparison to the current city government, which loves nothing more than sicking the police on unarmed demonstrators.
Yeah, the constant reminder of how the CDU kind of like cheated their way into into leading Berlin still makes me so mad after 3 elections. And I mean, to be fair, Franziska Giffey was atrocious. Lest we forget, R.I.P. Queen. But no, I have seen the like soft launch of her local. I guess it isn't even a soft launch, just the launch of her campaign. And like, I was not upset about it, which for Germany is saying a lot. I was like, all right. I've been seeing, as you mentioned, the polling for Die Linke is looking very good for them in the sense of leading a red-green coalition, which is, I don't know, like Ulf Polschat's worst nightmare, which let's make that happen. I cannot wait And yeah, I mean,
I
like
mean,
also too with the
you know what I call that, Nick? I call that an Alternative für Deutschland.
Yeah, but in the sense as well, like it has been very
at some point, like we can all sit here and talk about this, but like, you know, if we don't build power pretty fucking quickly, then and we just sit around and spend a lot of time saying we hate the CDU, but we hope they keep holding the Braunmauer. At some point, they won't. And like, okay, like we do actually have, I think, a little bit of a job to do, and I think a little bit of a job to do that takes us out of a comfort zone in talking about how much Germany sucks, which it often does.
Yeah.
But like those of us who have not fled and who would like to live here and actually like participate here, you know, I think we should be doing stuff and trying to get power built as fast as humanly possible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing, even Die Linke last federal election, although it was abysmal results for everything else, that bump gave me a sense of hope that then that this party has a chance, even particularly locally, to do something. And I you know, we got to have like hope somewhere. And Die Linke in Berlin is looking especially, you know, promising, dare I say. I don't want to, you know, put too much into it. There is weird stuff still about that party, sure, whatever. But you know what? They're the least weird people that are possibly going to run the city. And yeah, give us from Mamdani, please. I'm all for that. So before we leave, Ben, you mentioned before having you on that you got a few things coming up, few important things.
I do. So the first thing I want to say is that if you just love the sound of my voice, I make a podcast called Bad Gays, and season 9 is about to come out. We're about to go to Helsinki, as I tell you this, to record our last episode for the season, which is going to be about Tom of Finland, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just say that the Nazi symbolism conference, the people who were shocked about Nazi symbolism at the Tom of Finland Foundation were maybe not looking at Tom of Finland so much. And like, what? Girl, grow up. Anyway, then if you also like the sound of my voice and you live in Berlin, I have 2 events coming up. One of them is called Sissy Smut at Volksbühne on November 26th. Where I'll be reading from the Bad Gays book alongside a punk set by the drag punk queen Bleach. And it should be said, a lot of eye-wateringly pornographic visual material. So if you want to see like a lot of dicks at the Volksbühne, come to that. But if you don't want to see a lot of dicks, don't come to that. And then there is a book coming out in translation that I wrote the afterword for that I'm really excited about by Ronald M. Schernikau. And Schernikau was born in East Germany and then was smuggled by his mom out of East Germany into West Germany because his dad had fled a little bit earlier. And they go to like find his dad, and it turns out the dad has become a literal Nazi and taken a new family. So then Ronald is raised.
That's horrible.
So then Ronald is raised by a single mom in 1960s West Germany, which is like, you know, single women are the literal devil, and goes to gymnasium in this town called Lehrte. And then when he's 18, he moves to West Berlin and he writes this book called Small Town Novella, which is basically about a gay kid going to a gymnasium in Lehrte and like being a gay communist in this deeply conservative place. Now, do you know who else was in Lehrte at this time going to gymnasium and whose father was at this point the governor of Nordrhein-Westphalia? And who is literally described in the book, I think, because he's like, cool girls with CDU rings on their low-slung jeans. Ursula von der Leyen.
Oh, queen.
They were born in the same year. So this guy went to high school with Ursula von der Leyen. Ronald M. Schernikau died of AIDS-related illness. I'm going to go ahead and say the wrong one died. But, you know, it's not that I want her dead. Just to be clear, it's that I think he should be alive. But critical support for wolves in their campaign against against Ursula von der Leyen's
potential RAF
space.
target Ursula von der Leyen as her family
anyway,
was so
basically
afraid.
they all go together. So that book's coming out. I wrote the afterword to it. If you're interested, my afterword's going to be out on Baffler pretty soon, and I'm going to be joined by Rebecca Rukeyser, Judy Moore, and Olympia Bukakis for a group reading from the book on November 7th at Agit on Nansenstrasse from 7 to 9. And the book will also be available for sale there. I think it's a really good book. I really like it. And I hope you all come out to that. And all of those events are findable through my social media at Ben Writes Things. So take a look, come on out, come see me, hear me, listen to me, keep allowing me to do this as my job. That'd be great.
We will link to all of those in the description. Ben Miller, thank you once again for coming on. It is always a lovely time having you on the show.
Thanks for having me, and I hope that I haven't said anything that will endanger my ongoing citizenship application process. But
yeah, God forbid that that someone within whichever amt does that finds this podcast. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm just going to say that I am and I mean this absolutely. This is absolutely 100% true. The German Constitution is a really good document, and I support just about every word in it, especially the part about expropriations for public benefit, and the part about the absolute value of every human life.
Yep. I love the Grundgesetz as well. I have to.
They should read it. No, they should read it. Like I am comfortable. I am very comfortable supporting that document. I really am. I can stand by that one.
Well, on that note of our love for the German Constitution, we will see you all next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.